As of late, Reddit seems to be a hub for all sorts of strange, unexplainable occurrences. From an unknowing stalker to a mysterious whistling noise that followed a man for 15 years. Here are 5 unexplainable stories found on Reddit. Number 5. A little over a year ago, a Reddit user by the name of Daryl Pratt uploaded a post to the legal advice subreddit, telling users that he had been following a minor celebrity on social media for quite some time, and that he'd been leaving nice comments regularly but was suddenly banned from viewing her page. His post states, "I followed this girl on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram for over a year. She's a minor celebrity. I liked and commented on everything she has posted for over a year, and I only said nice things. She actually replied to me a lot. Then, for no reason, she banned me from all of them. I've never met her and probably never will, but her posts and replies were the best part of my day. I made another account begging her to unban me, but she banned that one too with no response. She's literally the best thing in my life, so I was just going to make another account with a fake name to follow her. But I compliment her on every post, so I think she'll suspect it's me. So if I only say nice things and compliment her, it can't be harassment or stalking or anything. I live in Kentucky and she lives in California, so it's not like I'll ever meet her." Now, at first, this post may seem fairly normal. It seems like a guy who's simply a fan of this girl and wants to be able to keep up with her posts. However, things get a bit weird if you do some digging. One user commented on Daryl's post and stated, "Your post history is only about trying to get this girl to like you, and sending her love letters to her physical work address and crap like that. Probably why she blocked you. You need to grow up and find something else to do with your life instead of stalking an IGN employee." But here's where things get even more disturbing. Following the hate that Daryl received from this post, he commented a few more times, ultimately saying, "How would you feel if you found out your girlfriend liked someone else more than she likes you? That's how I feel. How am I supposed to be happy about that? I'll most likely be dead tonight, so that should make her happy. Screw this world." Following this, Daryl never posted again. Number 4. This next post has been covered by a handful of other channels, but it's far too creepy to not include here. In 2016, the user BingBong1234 posted, "When I was about 8 years old, I was taking my dog for a walk through the neighborhood with my mom. It was maybe 11 p.m. We live next to a swamp and wooded area on the edge of our neighborhood in Lansing, Michigan. I remember it being very silent and slightly windy. From down in the swamp, we heard somebody whistling at us. It sort of sounded like a bird, but each whistle was different enough where the lack of consistency made it human-like. The whistle sounded higher than lower. I can't really describe it. My mom had a concerned, slightly terrified look on her face and grabbed my hand and said that we should go inside quickly. I didn't understand because I was too young, but seeing my mom freak out made me freak out too. After a while though, I kind of forgot about it. 2 years later, I was taking my dog out again, late at night. There's a large bush that could easily obscure a person behind it, just next to the front door. As I was finishing the walk, the whistling noise started again. Same pitches, same inconsistent human-like tones. As soon as I heard it, a chill went down my spine as I remembered exactly the feeling of seeing my mom, terrified, looking into the swamp at something I couldn't see, and maybe she couldn't either. I ran inside as fast as possible. Years went by and I thought about it less and less. I only told a handful of people and eventually it slipped my mind. Fast forward to last summer. I'm 24 and started dating my girl Sarah. We moved out to South Dakota for work. For Independence Day, we decided to go to Pierre and watch fireworks along the bank of the Missouri River. There was a free camping spot behind a hospital where you could pitch your tent, hang out, and see the fireworks up the river. We were near the end of the campground and there were very few people around us as it was starting to get dark and the fireworks began. They were pretty far away, so the illumination they brought was very little. Thus, we had to sit right at the edge of the water to be able to see them. A huge thunderhead was moving in and a storm was imminent, so the air seemed electric and the wind was picking up. The atmosphere was eerie to say the least. The police boats herded all the other boats off of the river and left our area to do that elsewhere. Most of the other campers walked up the river to have a better view of the fireworks, but Sarah and I stayed back. Suddenly, we heard the sound of a paddle methodically dipping into the water. We saw a figure steering a canoe about 20 meters offshore. Sarah decided to go get more beers from the car, leaving me alone to stare at this mystery person. And then, of course, they whistled at me. My entire body was frozen and covered in goosebumps. It was the exact same whistler from my childhood, more than a decade earlier. I looked at the figure, but it was much too dark to discern who it could be. When they were perpendicular to the shore from me, they stopped paddling, turned the canoe to face at me directly, and whistled right at me. I was so frightened I stood up and shouted at them, "Who are you?" They didn't say a thing, just whistled a couple more times. They turned 180 degrees and paddled out of sight. I'm a videographer, so I already had my camera by my side and was taking video of the fireworks. As the canoe was almost out of sight, I grabbed my camera and got a shot of them whistling as they went away. When Sarah came back from getting the beers, she was very confused as to why I was so freaked out. When I explained, she was freaked out a bit too. I was convinced we would both be murdered that night. How did this whistling person follow me after 14 years, all the way to South Dakota? Was it a coincidence, or why was it the same whistling noise? Who was the person and where did they go? So many questions are still unanswered.
You whistling? Is it you? Stop it.
Number 3. In August of 2017, the user Sora for Smash posted the following. Sorry if this is the wrong subreddit for this question. I've been searching Google and the internet for people who feel the same way as me for a very long time, but I haven't had much luck. Anyway, you know that very strong feeling of existential dread that you get when you hear things about the universe, reality, existence, infinities, nothingness, dreams, etc.? The feeling is sometimes on different levels and sort of varies in feeling sometimes, but the feelings generally feel like they belong in the same category. It's almost an unnamed emotion. I hope you know what I'm talking about at least. If you didn't, then the question I'm about to ask would be very hard to explain. Do certain songs or music give you this feeling? This feeling of existential dread and depression? I'll link a few songs that give me this feeling below. It sort of feels like these are sounds that I've heard in a past life, or that I'm dreaming or something, and these are sounds I've heard in my real life. I don't know, it's hard to describe the emotion. It almost feels like it's a mix of existential dread, depression, and nostalgia. It's a very terrible feeling, but listening to these songs makes me fall into the deepest pits of depression. But at the same time, it's what makes me love the songs so much. I also get this feeling from certain movies and anime, such as Neon Genesis. It makes me feel an incredible emotional connection to these songs and shows. I wouldn't like them nearly as much if they didn't evoke these feelings from me. This strange phenomena was actually seconded by a few different users, many claiming that the songs Jungle Boogie by Kool and the Gang and Heart-Shaped Box by Nirvana were common triggers. This feeling has yet to be explained, and I don't know about you, but this scenario seems all too similar to the Mandela effect curiosity that went viral a couple years back. Number 2. This next post is actually an update to a story we covered a short while back, involving a strange man that a user met on a beach near the San Francisco Bridge. The user stated that he met a man who he didn't believe was human, and that the man claimed he would return in 10 years to kill him. The man also knew a disturbing amount of accurate information about the user, making this whole encounter much odder. He then told the user that when he returned, he would be driving a black Mercedes with the license plate Utopia. If you're interested in hearing the full version of this story, I strongly urge you to check out the previous video, as it's super weird. But anyway, fast forward a few months, and another Reddit user did a little bit of investigating into the strange occurrence. The user Yellow Rice Macaroons states, okay, so at the time, I'd done a search for the car mentioned in the Jimmy C post, and found that a black Mercedes with that license plate really did exist in California. Well, it's a really interesting story, so I'd done a bunch of digging and found records for it, and I discovered that it hadn't been registered with the DMV in a while, and had an expired registration, and it hadn't been serviced in a while. It was as if it were bought just at the start of the year and then parked in a garage somewhere for months. I'd signed up for Carfax at the time with the car's info and completely forgot about it until I just got an email asking how the recent maintenance on the Mercedes went. So I logged in and found out that on Friday the car was taken to get a new set of tires put on it. Now, here's what gets interesting. Not only has the car apparently been registered and gotten new tires and thusly is apparently back on the road, but the place it was registered and taken for tires is just a short distance from the San Francisco Bridge. I don't know if I'm allowed to post the name of the actual store for privacy's sake, so I'll keep that to myself until I know for sure. But according to Google Maps, it's only a 21-minute drive. In case you missed the tidbit in the story, Jimmy C claims he committed suicide off the San Francisco Bridge. Not a huge thing, of course, and the story might have just been fake, but it's a pretty weird coincidence that this car is suddenly back on the road after having been parked and with a brand new set of tires just in time for Halloween, and that it matches up with the story. Number 1. In this final post, the user Skinna555 states, "My partner and I have recently moved back into my childhood home with my parents while our own house is being built to save some cash and not have to move instantly from our rental when it's complete. My parents owned 3 Australian native birds, and earlier tonight, I was updating my Snapchat story to show my friend, as many of them ask what the birds' names are and what they look like. I took 3 photos, one after another, and just put them on my story without worrying about retakes or what it looked like. Anyway, within about 15 minutes of uploading, I received a text message from one of my good but not great friends that said, 'Haha, you bearded beast, those birds are mad. By the way, what was that in the window behind you in that last one?' I had no idea what he was going on about, so I went and watched my own Snapchat story a couple times. On the 3rd or 4th watch, I saw exactly what he was talking about and my stomach sank. In the last Snapchat video I sent, it kind of looks like someone is at the door, looking in with their hands cupped against the door. It's hard to tell because Snapchat videos are very poor quality and the door is only in frame for probably 1 second. Whatever is in the 3rd Snapchat video, however, is definitely not in the 1st video when the door is in full view. I was the only person at home and that particular door leads to the backyard, which is only accessible via a single locked gate. Here are the 3 videos I saved from my story.
So the first one of my parents' little birds is this little guy. It is little Leo. He's a cockatoo. The second little bird of my parents is a rainbow lorikeet. His name is Oliver. And there he is. And here I am with my good little mate, Puffin.
Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.